Welcome back to some professional StarCraft 2. Check your sundials because it's 2023, and I am happy and excited and proud to introduce, for the first time in several years, he's returned from his military service in Korea, and he's back. The last bastion of Protoss for many years, the SHIELD of AIUR. It is Stats. Up against another long-term name in StarCraft 2, known for his ability to be the best of the rest, the most second-place championships of anyone in the game. Still fighting for that first one. We have Sue. Wikipedia says his nickname is the Angry Zerg, which I can only imagine that getting second place. There's been studies done, science out there, that getting second place is oftentimes a less happy position than getting third, which I think makes sense. Third place, you're just happy to be there. Second place, you failed again. Well, we'll see. Stats, he's been playing a bit. He finished his service, I believe a couple months ago, but this ITAX Pro Circuit here is the highest profile tournament he's played in thus far, as it has been kind of the off-season a bit since I am Katowice, and of course he didn't have the opportunity to play there, so first Adept gets surrounded. Sue has also been having some struggles with getting back into the swing of things. He returned about a year ago, but is still struggling to find too much success. We'll see if Stats. I'm interested to see what kind of style he brings out, as Sue has kind of stuck to that mass Zergling Hydralist, the mass unit composition, which can work, but struggles against the highest tier of players, where they're not going to mess up their wall, they're not going to miss a beat with their macro, and you don't really have those windows of opportunity to exploit. But Stats historically was known for just being for the race that has the least stability, for the faction that relies on, some might say, trickery and surprising their opponent. He well known as a player who didn't do that, and sometimes to his dismay, but many times finding success. Even more so, like Hero, I would put also as a consistent Protoss, but more aggressive, more reliant on getting that early damage. So we will see as the first Adepts come in. Stats has already taken a third base. He's got a Twilight and a Forge behind, so looking like the classic. We got that double stasis in the main, and he grabs about half the drones and gets a few, well, one more with the second stasis, and the Adepts into the natural. The most passive-aggressive way to do damage here, which, and by that I mean he has not actually killed any drones, but preventing 8 or so drones from mining for 20-something seconds isn't a bad start to the game, especially when he's been teching up so fast behind. Anything he can do to slow down Sue and any sort of counterattack is going to work into his favor. Yeah, now we have the entirety. He's built the rest of the tech tree behind this. This is actually so greedy. The stasis is the Stacy. The stasis is. That's a technical term. Did you know Stats is just stasis without the I, because he's all about us? Like and subscribe. 5 more gates on the way after he's completed the tech tree here. +1 charge, storm, observer, literally every other building he could build before the additional gateways. Sue, on the other hand, I think the stasis the stasis wards did slow him down enough. God, it's bad. It's really bad. And that means Stats gonna get away with it. He's got 70 probes already. We're 7 minutes in. He's got Storm more than halfway done. The gateway explosion. Just a wall of gates at the third. He hasn't taken a 4th base yet. I think he wants to make sure he has the gateway production first before investing in even more additional economy. It's plenty enough. The main base doesn't start mining out for around 8-9 minutes, which is when those first mineral patches start drying up. The rest at about 12. So Stat's still very comfortable on economy. In fact, up until a few seconds ago, he was slightly higher than Sue in terms of income. Now adding... It looks like he's happy to do a smooth trend... Wait, did he see the spire?
I have met the enemy.
There was a spire. Where is that spire? He didn't see it. But he's already getting +1 air weapons. I mean, it's stats. I don't know what I expected from the Shield of AIUR, but he's getting +1 air, preparing for the late game, walling off his 4th. He has essentially the entire ground tech tree he needs to deal with the mass units, and is already adding on a fleet beacon. He did a bit of aggressive defense early by keeping the oracles out there, but already you can. He's just built. This is like a campaign mission. He's built now. It's going to be 14 gateways and 4 stargates. He's funneling the Zerg into the center path here. There is no path to the left. There's a tiny choke point on the right, which he's already set up a stasis in to slow things down. So the only path is directly up the center into a relatively small but incredibly dangerous Protoss army with Storm, Immortals, and Archon in there. And of course, with 14 gateways, you can have some reinforcements on demand. The carriers, a warp prism, quite a macro game so far, as both players have sat back and built up everything they ever wanted. So we're gonna have to see which player is correct in doing so, as usually this favors the Protoss. For anybody but maybe like Cyril and potentially Dark, I'm concerned of a Zerg just letting the Protoss go to the late game. And Sue is definitely not one of those players who's comfortable in the drawn-out, spellcaster-heavy late-game exchanges. So we got a bunch of Roachling Bane in the center, but there's 3 stasises. Observer spots all this. We've got the Templar on the high ground, the gate wall. He's defended. You're not breaking this. More over... But wait, there's more. And an Archon as well. But oh my god, so many more Banelings, but they're funneling in. The storms will hold. On the left side, more Banelings. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Trapped in a prison of their own design here are the probes. Trying to run. Is he gonna get out? No. He loses 12. But that was a lot of Banelings for 12 probes. Yeah, like... Not really that much. You already got carriers on the way. Sue is adding on some corona. Stop right there. The roaches and lings trying to come in. They're not even bothering to break down the wall on the left flank. Banelings gets a cannon, but the storms ward him away. Well, Stats is back. This is the most committed and comprehensive defense I've seen this season in Protoss versus Zerg. It's not like he went out of his way. He just added a few extra gates, he committed to the wall-offs, and he's now resigned himself to play defensively, at least until he maxes out. The carrier count has already grown to dangerous levels. He's building 4 at a time. He's got octo carriers at the moment. 6 Broodlords on the way. Does he cancel them? No, he lets them finish. Sue is maxed out. His anti-air is 7 Queens and 3 Corruptors. And now behind this, Stats is already going for Void Rays, which are the direct counter to the Corruptors with Prismatic Alignment, on top of the fact he has Storms and Archons. So Stats is already a step ahead here. You have the Lingbane fighting whatever they can, which is the Zealot counterattack on the left. Carriers moving up. We're only 12 minutes in. We've been maxed out for several of them already. A few spores to help zone out. Picks off a Void Ray. Targets down a Brood. Encounter. Lings and Banes underneath. But the Archon should be able to hold the line as the Templar on the back line still intact. Where are the Storms? Gotta be careful not to storm your own interceptors too much. But he's got full energy Templar. But the Banelings rolling through. They actually went too far and had to come back around with the Archon there. Doesn't land any Storms. Another round of Baneling slows it down as the Interceptors work their way through most of the Corruptors. And Sue is left, wow, both sides taking heavy losses there. But the clear winner is Stats for now with the Corruptors, though he held back on the Storm so long he never got to cast them. Which, a bit of a mistake there. 4 more Void Rays. He's got Flux Veins as well. Recall should be off cooldown. Yeah, Recall's definitely off cooldown. And just Corruptors build. Well, Corruptors and some Lings for Sue as he scrambles. And I love it. One of my biggest issues with Protoss players is they only recall after it's clear they're going to lose the fight. Stats understands his position, recalls, and doesn't lose a unit. Gets everything back. So he's lost 3 carriers to 14 Corruptors. He's been almost twice as cost-effective in the minerals, but the gas is about even for now. So, now comes the more difficult part of following this up. Sue still has a lot of the map. Stats has to take another base, as that main base is mining out, as is the natural. There's not that much gas left in the main either. A few of the Zealots taken out. So, while this army is still very deadly, there is an opportunity for Sue to whittle it down, and Stats does... Oh my god. You shall not pass! The shield battery overcharging the Warpin, holding the line for an inordinate amount of time. Finally, the almost like 30 supply of Roachling will break through, but Stats holds, and the Flux Veins Void Rays charged up, ready to chase down. Good micro from Sue, picking off a few Void Rays, but there is a timer on this as the carriers are working their way across. The natural has been breached. The Roaches and Lings will take it out. Now the production, and very importantly, the Stargates are vulnerable. What is in there? The Templar in the Prism. Sue is... Okay, we're in a bit of a base trade scenario. The problem is, Sue, how do you ever fight this army? He's not going to break another base. There's a bunch of cannons. Sue's in a half-hearted base trade at the moment. The Templar in the Prism. Oh, the Storms onto the Corruptors. Rarely do you see players using the Storm Prism in Protoss versus Zerg, but here we are. And I mean, why not? Usually it's just there's so much to control. Wow. He made a pylon wall. This must have been made after the natural went down. And the Zealots come up. Oh my. And that should be enough to clean up the counter. Stats is back. What a defense. And usually I'm not a big fan of the just defensive Protoss, but that wasn't just sitting back and hoping you can defend. He actively defended. He set everything up. A multi-layered, something we usually see Terrans do more often, as it is more difficult with Protoss just because of how everything works. But he made up for the lack of door-based technology with the layered stasis wards and the units and just the funneling of the Zerg there. So, game 1 goes to Stats. Some real nerd chills. Like, I'm not, as I just said, I'm not a huge fan of the sit back and build up, but it feels like Stats just did it better than I've seen anyone do that recently. Even Hero. Hero doesn't play like that. Hero likes to get out on the map with things like Blink Stalkers and go into Robo. But Stats just controlled it with the Oracle. Even the Oracle usage was a different flavor. And I think flavors are the best way to describe Protoss. They always have a different mouthfeel, which is weird since they don't have mouths. But it isn't so much about exactly what build you use, but how you use it. And there's a lot of different things you can do with oracles, especially. Some players will always have one at home for defense, no matter what. Some players are trying to dip in and get those drone kills. Even if they take some damage on the oracles, they usually seem like it's worth it. Stats, on the other hand, adding the stasis wards, which we don't usually see too many. Occasionally, that's one of those things that kind of like phases in and out, is players using this. Essentially, what I think happens is Zerg players get used to them. Like Sue there clearly wasn't expecting the stasis. Most rarely do you see such a commitment to the stasis. But of course, after... And that comes back to how Protoss works, is you do got to find those edges somewhere to slow down the Zerg or the Terran. So, in this case, the stasis did find some dramatic effect. I bet Stats does the same damn thing. Stargate. He's even laying out his base. Essentially this. He's got this, the maximum amount of space. He's got really, we talk about this during Angry Coach. The pylon efficiency and the necessary infrastructure safety rating. The pen is rating, if you would. I think Stats has the highest, probably the largest just coverage I've ever seen on that. Just from that last game, from one game, you can clearly tell he's planning ahead. The perfect thing to happen here would be Zerglings to get in because he didn't leave an Adept in the wall, and then he just loses. That's what I need. I'm hyping it up too much, okay? But Protoss does not have very many champions at the moment. Neeb officially retired. As he's going to focus, apparently, I believe computer science is his major. Finishing that up, and he wants to focus on that. So despite being one game from knocking the eventual world champion out of the tournament, he was still ranked as one of the top 4 or 5 Protoss players. So we are losing another of the... There just aren't that many top tier Protoss players. We have Max Pax, Hero. And then you gotta dig a little deeper, and maybe Showtime and Estrella, which both of them had significant... They did not have much success during the World Championships, and I still would struggle to put them on the same level as like a Hero or a Max Pax. And Max Pax, since Max Pax is both a Golden Retriever, the Crown Prince of Denmark, and Dark on another computer, is why we don't really see him in those LAN tournaments. Maybe someday he'll holographically manifest himself, but we'll see. So that just leaves Hero at the moment, unless Stats can return to glory. This is, you see, this is what I mean. He's building, it's the same exact thing. That's not, he's built a few more Adepts here, and he's putting the pressure on with him, but the way he's setting up his base, the consistency. Finally, I have someone to point to for all those Protoss players who literally have never looked at a replay. Like, just copy Stats. This is how you set up your base. He's adding on the gates a little quicker. What did he see? Ah, the Roach Warren. Finds the queens. Two queens is not enough to kill 3 oracles, but a transfuse turns things around, loses 1. Yeah, you don't want to fight those. Optimistic there, but he's mixing it up. He's shifting into the charge lots this game. So a little more early game options. Correctly predicting that Sue is not going to just sit back and relax, especially not after that last experience. I love it. Giving himself some space for the charge lots to get surface area while still walling off any sort of run-bys. He's got 67 probes. Like, he's looking good. Wow, look at this. The double wall in the front as well, just in case. It's like looking at oh, the double stasis in the main. It's like looking at beautiful architecture, all right? This is the Protoss interpretation of Xel'Naga's development. Here we are, inspired by the ancient artifacts. Or whatever. Is that Swarm Host? Did he see the infestation pit? He did. Does he know what that means? There is a Robo Bay on the way. I don't think... If you think he's going to Hive, you don't go Robo Bay. Because a Robo Bay is countered by Vipers. Doesn't really matter what you build out of it. Disruptors or Colossi, Vipers have a field day. I think this is for... Yeah, he had Zealots out here. He's looking... He finds... He knows. Here come the Swarm Host. Wait, no, Sue, what are you doing? Sue! What? He just pops him out. He's gonna walk out? What am I? Sue just commits to it. Another night is what a mess. Hey, I'm gonna get that assimilator. I guess they're gonna walk home now. Ricky and the boys. I do love it. Well, that didn't do much. These are not the cheapest things. 75 for each one of these Niduses. I'm not... So far, Sue has 2,000 minerals in the bank, so he's kind of flailing a bit right now. I don't think... I hate to say it, but Sue, you're not dark. No one is, or can be, or should be. He's not a role model, okay? He's like the Joker. It's not... Wow. Wow. Stats. Colossus almost dies. What? What a perfect... He storms and then makes the Archon. Weathers it with the shield battery. The Oracle, he sees the Nidus, right? I'm not sure if he actually... Okay. Well, this is a bit awkward. Where's he going with those locusts? Sue's... I'm not huge on how Sue is using the Swarm Host so far, but he may get the Robo here a second before the Colossus finishes. There's a lot of roaches with this. The thing is, stats didn't do much counter damage. He has not done much counter damage during all this, so... It's adding up. He hasn't really killed the Swarm Host. He hasn't done... It's not going to stop. The Swarm Host will continue adding up. Unless you can do some damage on the other side or you outright kill the Swarm Host, it doesn't get easier. Especially since Stats is not taking any new bases. He lost his Robo there. Oh, no, you can't just land the Locust. The Colossi will just kill them. Oh, okay. Alright, he lost the Colossus. The Natural's dead. The Roaches finish it off. That's really... He's starting to struggle here. but there is the point where he punches back. Losing that Colossus in the natural, I think you gotta go now. It's time to go. Oh, get the freaking! What are you guys doing out here? I told you never to show those pustules in my town again. Sheriff Stats is in town, and he ain't taking no guff. As you can tell, he looks like a cold-blooded, yeah, something. Well, the Swarm hosts are on defense now. He popped the entire wave, though. A couple storms, or even just the Colossi. There's a Nidus in the main. There was a Nidus in the main. This game is getting real messy. But Stats' supply is still looking very solid. Especially, well, finally some lurkers. Is there an observer? Somewhere. Oh, it's with the army. It's with the army. Oh. Oh, no. As long as he doesn't storm his own observer. Oh, well. That is unfortunate. Sue really committed to those lurkers there. They run up and get immediately melted. Another wave of locusts gonna try to draw out the swoops there. That's the technical term, is the swoop. The Colossi burning through. And with them, Stats managing this fight. Honestly, Stats looks... Sue is definitely not the best Zerg right now. But he's fully capable. And right now, Stats is looking like a better player. Sue he tried to do the Swarm host, and it went okay. And honestly, I don't think Stats handled it perfectly, but when he did set up for it, it looked useless. Honestly, I don't think the Swarm host strat is good. It relies on both Dark's aura of madness. Like, essentially the only player I've seen make it work and actually look good is Dark. Then again, that's just Dark in general. Like, he can go over there and proxy hatch a Zerg player and it still works. I believe he proxy hatched Sue. So that might be a trend. Like, I don't... So that's just the Dark effect. Meanwhile, Stats... Ooh, a few Zealots have already found some damage. Sue is bleeding out. Ever since the Swarm host, he's been using the entire wave constantly, which leaves just a ton of downtime. Spore Crawlers against Colossi is an interesting choice. He gets the Observer. Stats 2-0. And he just looked more comfortable there. And to be clear, I think a lot of people have this misconception of Korean, the obligatory Korean military service. You don't have to be sitting in a bunker on the front lines, staring out and never looking at technology. A lot of the, especially players, choose to take maybe more administrative positions where they can still play. They can still play regularly. They just can't participate in tournaments because they have to be essentially on call. So in this case, I think Stats has been playing regularly. He clearly hasn't dropped off. That was some of the most comfortable and confident Protoss versus Zerg I have seen this year. So I would love to see him against, well, one, if I find Stats versus Dark, I will cast that immediately. But I'm excited. I hope you are as well. Protoss players, he's returned. So thank you for watching. Check out this video Jimmy put up there for you. And I hope it made your day a little bit better. I'll see you next time. Good luck, have fun. Stay chill.